Well, I'm here at HMS Belfast, and as you can see, it's a cruiser. I can't remember if it's a heavy cruiser or light cruiser. We'll find out when I get on board by the size of the guns. But that's the Tower Bridge, and this is a wonderful little thing to go see. Some World War II history mainly, even though it served after World War II for several decades. It does allow you a step back in time. And just coming aboard now. And here we go. This is the stern, I believe. Yeah, stern. So, actually, no. Yeah, stern. So let's get this tour underway. So I haven't taken much video so far, but this is actually kind of a neat space. This is the modernized galley. So I'm going to show you. Modernized, they modernized in the 50s. This wasn't like this back when the ship was first commissioned. But you notice everything here has edges to it, right? Edges, 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 edges. That's because if the ship's pitching and rolling, the last thing you want is things like your baked pie or whatever else come rolling onto the deck. And there was a butcher shop over there earlier and a couple workshops that direction. So this is actually kind of neat showing this. But once again, this galley was laid out and modernized in the 50s. So this is not original to World War II. So I'm now descending into the engine room space, but this is the thing I want to show because I think a picture won't do it justice, is all the electrical stuff that's in here. I mean, I can imagine if the ship took a hit in this area, how much of this stuff is redundant and can be rerouted to a different area of the ship. So, and then they mentioned there's a 4-inch shell hoist here for the smaller guns topside. But this is one of the many watertight compartments, and the crew's bathroom is right there. But looks like the tour continue goes downward. So I'm down here in the boiler room, engine room, and they had a lot of cool stuff here to look at. For example, this is a steam-driven bilge pump right here, which they've opened up so you can see how it operates. Various gauges and dials and what speed you're supposed to be doing. And but then this is the boiler. This is the business end, not the business, but the propulsion end of the ship. And they've taken out some of the firing things. This is where the oil and fuel mixture and air mixture kind of come in and inject it into the boiler. And this boiler creates it's like a furnace. It's just intense heat that the boiler tubes around it turn that water into steam. And I believe it goes from wet steam to a superheated dry steam, potentially. I got to look up on that. But some diagrams showing all the information. And then above us, right there, that's a steam turbine to drive generators. So this is actually really neat in here. So I'm going to turn off the camera and continue walking around. So I came through the crew's wash area. They said during the 50s rebuild or retrofit, they put them on either side of the boiler rooms. That way they have ample supply of hot water to get them quickly. But I want to show you this quick thing, besides this really neat manned portable pump, is I noticed back there on the deck below in this deck, you notice they have all these slats here. And that way if the ship's pitching and rolling, or there's some water here at least, somewhat, maybe damp, you have some sort of traction surface. And once again, this is one of the ship's bathrooms, but washing facilities. As you can see, this is the machine shop. It makes sense they located this near the engine room or the boiler room down there. That way, that's probably the space that needs most of the spare parts being created on board a ship, along with everything else around here. But you can see all the different types of equipment, from lathes to saws to cut lengths of metal and pipe, to all sorts of other machinery to mill and machine parts. And I'm assuming somewhere aboard the ship there must be a whole just stack of raw material, from bar stock, circular, square, you name it, where they can machine it and finish it down to a product within reason. You're not going to be making a propeller shaft down here, but anything smaller you can just take care of and knock out. That way you don't have to carry a huge supply of spare parts. You can actually make the spare parts as you go along. Okay, this is the turbines that drive the propeller shaft ultimately. And looking at the review of the little video, this is the cruising turbine. This is just the turbine set right here just to have the ship go forward, just lazily going forward. And I can't remember if this bad boy or the one over there's a high pressure and a low pressure turbine that turns the engine going forward. This may be the high pressure, is my guess. And over here is the gearing system. So you can see right here, it takes the turbine revolutions, put it on this whole gearing mechanism. And this gearing mechanism in turn goes to here. This is the not braking mechanism, but this is where it transitions the power from the turbine to the propeller shaft. And there was a picture of it over there I took. So there's some devices in there that helps transition the power into the propeller shafts, but then there's a mechanism that pushes the ship forward and therefore propels the ship forward. There's pictures of it over there. So I'm going to go over here, and as you see, more gearing, and that's about it. They don't have any more of the turbines exposed, but there's another turbine, I believe, right underneath this sucker here. Maybe it's shown. Yeah, right here. It's another turbine. So this is the engineering space, and there's also the back end of right here. So right here, you can't see it, but back in here is the reverse turbine, meaning if they have to reverse the ship, they put the steam to a different part of the turbine setup. So this is actually really cool with all the dials and gauges. And over here is where they would adjust the steam to the appropriate parts of the turbines to make them go forward or backwards. So this is all really neat. And they've also shined up a lot of the brass here to show you what it looks like underneath the layers and layers and layers of paint. So here is another shot of the machine shop here. Once again, it's close to the engine room here. I believe the boiler room is back behind here. But just look at the size of some of this equipment here to make parts for things that need to be fixed and maintained. However, here's what's cool is, as you can see here, you have these big lathes, but then you have these really small lathes, because if you have to make very fine parts, and you can see the calipers back there measuring this very tight tolerances. But you can see all these parts and pieces here are probably made for much more finer work to repair equipment or to create spare parts for things that need to be fixed. And I'm not sure what this was for in here. An office of some sort, but or just a fine tuning workshop or cleaning stuff. But this is really neat, having all these different machines in here. But once again, I'm wondering where all the source material would be stored. I see some boxes and bins over there for potentially some stuff, but I can imagine the amount of just raw material they have to bring on board a ship like this. And then if they run out of something, to radio and coordinate a drop off or a pickup. So let's go ahead and go back up topside. So I think this is one of the electrical rooms here, electrical panels. But this is the plotting and targeting control computer for the ship's guns. And we're supposed to be going this way to see the steering compartment, which this gyro compass here. This helps. This is important because these right here feed into the targeting control computers over there. That way you have an accurate solution, and also you make sure you fire the guns when the ship is perfectly level, or taking that into account of pitch and roll of the ship. So this is kind of neat right here. And the back of the storeroom, kind of. And here we go. This is the steering room down here somewhere. And yeah, steering room. It's right here, I guess, or was. Oh, there's the steering station right here. So I'm not sure if I took video of this already, but this is the sick bay. So this is the dispensary. It also looks like you do some forensic work, lab test results, examination room, surgery, excuse me, and surgery here, sick bay, and actual bathroom here. So let's continue walking. This is the shell room here, and then along the walls here are racks and racks and racks of ammunition, of shells. And these are all just fake plastic, but you can see the various boxes here. And I think it's interesting because there's labels in the boxes. I'm not sure if that means anything, what's inside them. And then you can see some additional colored shells. So I guess the color may mean something versus another shell. So basically this is a carousel. I'm assuming the carousel helped you bring the shells to the hoist, and there's three hoists that brings the shells up to the gun house up above. And let's walk this way. And yeah, so here's the other shell room here. So that's that's A turret, and this is B turret, I believe, or whatever how they labeled them, and more shells. So I'm assuming that we may go down another deck to the cordite store. Yeah, see, B shell room for B turret. And you can see how things go up. So I'm gonna take a couple more photos and then continue on. So this is the capstan. So this is what was used to raise and lower the anchor, or actually not raise, lower the anchor, but raise the anchor. And you can see all these complicated gears and shafts that go up top side. And these may be the brigs, maybe. I'm assuming so. Yep, brigs, punishment cells. So this is interesting. And then down here, into the store area. But another glimpse of the Belfast. Here you go. So I am topside now, at the very bow of the ship, and I think I took pictures, maybe some video of the capstans below, and these are the anchor chains. So obviously 1, 2, 3, 3 anchor chains, I think. Yeah, 3 anchors, maybe 4. I'm not sure. 1, 2, yeah, just 2 anchors. It looks like maybe. Yeah, this is the same anchor chain right there. But then this is the business end of the ship here with the bridge. So next up, I have to make my way up the ladders to the upper superstructure, and my tour of the ship is about done. Well, here I'm on the Admiral's Bridge. Apparently the captain commands the ships from the Compass Bridge right above, but looking out over the... Anyway, so this is the Admiral's chair, and let's give you a quick look around. So this is the, I think it's CNC, the Command and Control Center, part of the ship, and various boards here for plotting, and a lot of this equipment is installed later in its Belfast's career, in its history. But as you can see around here, it came down somewhere to get in here into this space. So to give you an idea of what it looks like. But the interesting thing is these plotting boards. So if you were in charge, you'd be looking at the board as I'm showing it here. However, the people putting the information on the board would be on the back side, and apparently they had to be very good about writing backwards. So you can imagine that the skill and the thought process where you had to type, like, let's put the letters ABC next to something, you'd have to have that mirrored image reversed to have it make any sense on somebody on this side of the board. So this is actually kind of a neat space. So here we are on the navigation bridge, or the captain's bridge, compass platform as they call it here. Apparently this was open when the ship was originally constructed, and it was closed in during its modernization in the 50s. The deck below us is the Admiral's deck, but this is where the captain and senior staff would have the commanding view. And it's interesting because this room here, the chart house and the navigator's cabin up here, but right behind us was where the command and control center was, where all the plotting took place. So this makes absolute sense, which means all the nerve center of the ship is right in this general area. And mind you, there's no wheel up here. So the wheelhouse is down below, which was earlier in the tours, the idea, and the engine room. So the idea was the commands were sent down to the positions of the ship that were more guarded or more protected to set the speed of the ship and the course of the ship, and not have it up here. So basically the verbal commands went down and into the ship for execution, which is kind of neat. So this is it for this section right here. Done the tour of the HMS Belfast, and that's one of the fire control computers right there for the aft guns. And across the way is the Tower of London and Tower Bridge. I've done those both, and so it is now 1:30. I've been here for 3.5 hours, which I think is more than enough time, and I have no idea what I'm gonna do with the rest of my day. I really don't. But I'll look at the list of free things I could go see and do, and call it an early day, because tomorrow I got an early flight.